Mr. President, I come to the floor today to announce my support and my hope that all of us will support the bipartisan compromise that will be proffered this afternoon by Senator Collins, myself, Senator Heitkamp, and others on the Democratic side to actually put something on the floor that is not designed to fail, but is designed to pass. Many of us have been concerned that we use lists that actually mean something. We believe that somebody who is not allowed to fly, somebody who is on the no-fly list, should not be allowed to purchase a weapon. But that those people who find themselves in that position should be afforded due process protections as well, as is necessary under the Constitution. The problem is with the broader watch list that there was an amendment on last night. This is a broad watch list with more than 1 million people, bits and pieces of information from many of our intelligence agencies that isn't really designed for this purpose. So what we've done with this compromise piece of legislation is taken the no-fly list as well as what's called the selectee list, which is a slightly broader list of those who are allowed to fly but are retained for additional screening. These are defined lists, much smaller, affect a far smaller group of Americans. If you find yourself on these lists, then the Attorney General would have the ability to block that gun purchase. But you would be given robust due process protections as well, where you could challenge, and it would be the presumption of innocence would be there, and it would be the government's job to actually prove that you belong on this list and should be denied the purchase of a weapon. If the government could not prove their case, government would actually pay the attorney's fees as well. So there are strong, robust due process protections here as well. But this is simply based on the principle that if you are denied the right to fly, that it stands to reason that you should not be able to, without additional checks, purchase a weapon. That's what this compromise piece of legislation is all about. Now, a lot will be said outside of this body that it's intended for other purposes, but I would encourage everyone to look at the legislation that we introduced this afternoon. It has bipartisan support, unlike most of what has been put forward so far. And it has growing support as well. We actually believe we ought to put something on the floor that will pass, not just protect one party or the other in terms of an election coming up. We want to actually have an impact on the situation there. So with that, Mr. President, I yield back and urge support for the bipartisan compromise that we'll introduce this afternoon. I would suggest the absence of quorum.